So this now, Israel's government and military are preparing to implement the first phase of President Donald Trump's Gaza ceasefire plan, following, of course, Hamas's agreement to enter into negotiations for the release of the hostages. And Trump then expressed optimism about a lasting peace and urged Israel to halt its bombardment of Gaza. To further unpack this and other stories, let's now welcome Chrispin Phiri, who is the DIRCO Minister's spokesperson. Chrispin, it's great to have you with us on the show. So welcome. So let's start with the latest on the SA detainees. What's happening around that?
The negotiations are still underway to ensure that they are released and brought back to South Africa. And we do believe that we will make some progress on that. They are currently held in custody. We do know that they are safe. And we still reiterate our call that they must not be harmed and that no impediments should be put in place for their release.
Under what charges are they currently detained, Chrispin?
Well, that's something that we are still wanting to hear from the team that's based there. We do have a specialized team that is able to engage with them. But we do understand that processes for their deportation are underway.
Any timeline? Because we know that the Israelis had said they will eventually be released, but no time frame.
Very, very fluid. We can't provide a time frame as yet. But as you can see, some hostages, some detainees rather, have been released. And I think that's a sign that indeed there's room to make progress.
Our correspondent said there's no South Africans on that list, Chrispin.
That is true.
But maybe talk to us as well about who's spearheading the release of our detainees. Is it DIRCO, or also is it just individual lawyers? As we spoke to some of the lawyers representing some of the activists that were aboard the flotilla
DIRCO is in contact with some of the individual lawyers, so it is a joint effort. There is some element of diplomacy at work as well.
All right, let's further expand on this topic now by including the fact that DIRCO has also since responded to the 20-point plan of US-Hamas peace deal, encouraging reciprocal measures. Talk to us about these and how then you're going to try and enforce Israel to actually abide and not sabotage this plan.
Well, President Trump has called on Israel to cease fire, essentially.
And they've been bombarding Gaza City this morning.
And that's one of the conditions of the plan that has been put forward by President Trump. It's the reciprocal action that we actually speak to, is that whilst there must be a commitment on the other side to release the hostages, which we have seen from Hamas and we do welcome, as well as a commitment from the Israeli regime to release all the political prisoners. This includes children. One of the things that are unknown about this is that there are a number of children who are detained in Israeli prisons for a number of sometimes really inexplicable reasons. But nonetheless, we call for their release as well. This is part of President Trump's peace plan. So the reciprocal action requires that Israel release the political prisoners. It requires that Hamas releases the hostages. And we think that this is progress. If we're able to get that going, then we will see a proper opportunity for engagement between the two parties, and then the rest of the agreement can find expression once there's proper negotiations on the table. But what is critical now is a ceasefire, and we reiterate even President Trump's call for a ceasefire. We also call for a ceasefire, immediate and permanent ceasefire at that. The constant genocidal actions have led to the extermination of a significant amount of people in the region of over 60,000 at this rate. So it's really something of a human tragedy. And this release of the hostages by Hamas which shows goodwill to really ensure that that aspect is addressed. We also encourage the fact that they are willing to release these hostages. It does show a little element of good faith on their part, and we hope that Israel can reciprocate.
And if Israel doesn't reciprocate, I mean, there's been various protests, not just here in the country, Chrispin, but globally as well. Specifically in the country, they've been calling for South Africa to sever its ties with Israel. What is your stand on that as DIRCO?
If Israel doesn't reciprocate, then it really shows you that they are not interested at all in a peaceful solution to this conflict. And Hamas is. They've shown goodwill. And so they can no longer say that the obstacle is that Hamas is not willing to release the hostages. Hamas have shown that they are willing to do so. They can no longer claim that the other side are not bona fide actors in this conflict. And we really do call for a prudent approach to this conflict. We really do call for a just peace solution, ultimately, that leads to these two states living alongside each other, side by side, with Jerusalem as the East capital, East Jerusalem as the capital of Palestine. And this is ultimately the ultimate solution to this conflict, where these two nations can live side by side. Where if Israel doesn't comply with their end of the bargain, which is as is requested by President Trump.
What pressures are you putting on them?
Well, we would have to really look at what is the necessary diplomatic action that we can take. But as we say in our statement, we really do stand ready to assist to ensure that the both parties find each other, and whatever role we can play towards this agreement finding ultimate expression, in a sense that all parties agree that this is an inclusive process and this is a just process. We stand ready to do so.
Well, there has been some developments, Chrispin. As we understand, the IDF has halted its advance on Gaza City. Let's move on now, and maybe in closing, and very importantly also, Chrispin, the final comments on Ambassador Nathi Tetto's death investigation. Please tell the nation what is the latest. We understand there's a death certificate that we understand has been issued this morning. Are you aware of that as DIRCO? And also, when is the funeral, if you do know?
Well, the funeral at this stage is still contingent on the former ambassador, the late ambassador, now being repatriated. And as we understand it, the post-mortem process is still underway, so the repatriation will only then, or processes will only kick in once we know that element has been concluded. To the extent that there are talks about a death certificate, I think the family can best speak more to that. But we do know that the post-mortem process is still underway, and once those results have come in, we will then be able to start the repatriation process alongside the family. We are guided mainly by what the family's wishes are at this point, and also we'll also be able to communicate about a memorial service, which we would definitely want to hold in South Africa, given the contribution that Ambassador Tetto had made, but also a number of colleagues from DIRCO who have worked with him in the international community as well. Ambassadors do want to pay their respects, and I think a memorial service fitting of that nature with the family present is something that we are really looking forward to organize, to really have a dignified send-off for our late ambassador.
All right. Any, relation as to, or any prospects as to what type of category funeral that the former ambassador is going to be accorded at this stage?
There is a standard protocol for ambassadors, and I can't recall right now exactly what it is, but it's most likely that the president would look at that category when considering what status the former ambassador should be granted.
Chrispin, thank you so much for engaging us this afternoon. That is Mr. Chrispin Phiri. Chrispin Phiri, in fact, the DIRCO Minister's spokesperson, they're just giving us some of the official DIRCO response on the various matters, including, of course, the investigation of the death of Ambassador Nathi Tetto.